Hello boys and girls and why not, also adults who are visiting this channel. Welcome everyone. Here I will be sharing a space created for the little ones in the family where I will be leaving them stories created by me and they will be narrated through my voice. The purpose is to have a fun and pleasant time in which they could listen to them during the day or, as was the custom in the past, before going to sleep. And well, without further ado, here we go with the story. Hope you like. Tap, tap, my dancing shoes. It is said that in every town there is a story, and in this small town there is too. This town had few inhabitants, therefore the people who lived there knew each other. Most of these people used to be relatives. In one part of that town there was a greater number of people who lived there, and there were several commercial premises, for example, grocery stores, clothing and shoe stores, toy stores, and language and dance academies. Of course, there were also schools where children attended to study. Two girls attended one of these schools, one named Pilar and the other named Elena. Elena and Pilar were two girls, 8 and 9 years old. They were cousins, but also by spending a lot of time together they had become friends. So much so that every day after returning from school, they did their homework together and then played for a long time until their mothers, who were sisters, called them to go home. One morning Elena and Pilar were walking to school together and saw that one of the places they always saw as they passed was no longer empty but now contained a large poster announcing the grand opening of a dance academy for girls. Elena stopped her steps and stood looking at the poster. Pilar stepped back and pulling her arm told her, "Hurry Elena, or we'll be late." Both girls kept walking, but Elena did not forget the announcement of the place, and again it appeared in her head. Grand opening of the dance academy. They arrived at school and each went to their class. "See you at recess," Pilar told Elena. The morning had passed and between letters and numbers, recess time had arrived. The teacher stopped the class and gave the order to go out to the patio. The children ran quickly out of the hall and out to the long-awaited recess. Elena sees that a few meters from her a girl greets her and yells at her to go. That girl was Pilar. Then Elena walks towards her. "Recess has finally arrived. My head can't fit in one more number," said Pilar. Pilar looks at Elena, who just looks at her and doesn't say anything. Pilar asks him, "Hey, is something wrong? You are very quiet since we got to school and you always talk all the way." Elena replies that nothing is wrong with her biting into a piece of cake that was her snack that day. Pilar, not very convinced of her cousin's response, shares a little soda with her. "I hope that today the teacher does not send homework, so we can play more time together," said Pilar. Elena, with her mouth full, tells her cousin, "I think the academy is going to be very nice." "Elena, you must not have your mouth full to talk, ha ha ha." "But I don't know what academy you're talking about," said Pilar. "I'm sorry," Elena said, and finishing her snack she reminded Pilar, "I'm talking about the new academy that will open in the place we saw today. Don't you remember?" Elena asked. "Oh yes, I remember," said Pilar, along with the sound of the bell announcing that it was time to go back to class. The girls each returned to their classroom and would meet later at the exit to return home together as they always did. 30 minutes later the bell rang again, this time announcing the departure time. "See you on Monday," the teacher said goodbye, and again all the children ran out of the room. Elena and Pilar left the school and began to walk towards their homes. A few blocks later they meet the local again. Once again, the place captures Elena's attention, and her mouth drops open without taking a step. Pilar, this time she stops with her. "Wow, it's really going to be nice," Pilar tells her cousin, also looking inside the place where some gentlemen were already testing lights of various colors and trying to put together something like a scenery. "Come on, Elena, we must keep walking or our mothers will worry," Pilar said without taking her eyes off the place. It was only a couple of blocks away, and they would reach their homes. This time there were three on the road: Elena, Pilar, and the silence that accompanied them. Until Elena, who was the most talkative according to her cousin, said, "Can you imagine dancing with incredible clothes in that academy?" Pilar looked at her and said, "It would be our dream come true. We always pretend we dance and sing, but..." And after saying those words, Elena interrupts her. "I don't know what you'll do, but I'm going to tell my parents. Maybe they'll talk to yours and we can go together," Elena said happily. Both girls had reached the road where their mothers were waiting for them. Each one went with her mother and agreed to meet in the afternoon after lunch, since the teacher had not sent homework that day. At Elena's house, everyone sitting at the table. The mother asks how the day at school had been. The girl Elena answered that very well, and continued having lunch. Her father looked at her mother and both were amazed because Elena ate her broccoli without any complaint, and her dad said, "Elena, what's wrong with you? You're eating broccoli without complaining. That's very rare for you, since you never want to eat them even if they give you a prize, ha 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 ha." Elena looked at them both with a smile, and with a little fear she was encouraged to speak. "Mom and Dad," Elena began by saying, "to begin with, I want to remind you that I have been behaving very well both here at home and at school," said the little girl. His mother says to his father in a funny tone, "Honey, get ready. This girl is going to ask us for something, ha 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 ha." The father, who had also noticed the girl's intention by rubbing her hands, recommended finishing lunch, and then, with the delicious dessert that the mother had prepared, the three of them would continue the conversation. Mother and daughter accepted the proposal, so they continued enjoying lunch. Once lunch is over, Elena and her parents sit in the living room with their dessert plates, and the conversation that had been pending begins. "Very well, Elena, your mother and I already know your intentions. What do you want to ask us?" his dad said. The mother told her that she could count on them because, even though she didn't like broccoli, she was a good girl. Elena, a little embarrassed, continued speaking. "On the way to school every day with Pilar, we saw a place that was empty. Today as we passed by, we saw that it will no longer be like this because they are going to open a dance academy," the girl said excitedly. "I told Pilar that I was going to talk to you and you could talk to her parents and thus go together to study there. It would be a dream come true because Pilar and I always play singing and dancing," said Elena. The parents looked at each other and made a sign that only they understood, and told Elena that they would think about it, and that as long as they thought about it, she should continue behaving well. And so the family conversation ended. Meanwhile, at Pilar's house, lunch was also over, but Pilar hadn't commented or spoken anything about that academy. I don't think she even remembered it. "Mom, can I go to Elena's house?" Pilar asked. The mother answered yes, and Pilar ran away. Ding dong, the doorbell rang at Elena's house. Elena opens the door and saying, "Pilar came." The two went to Elena's room to play. After playing with dresses and high heels, Elena tells her cousin that she talked to her parents about the academy and that the parents would think about it. Pilar said that she hadn't said anything and that she didn't think her parents would let her go there because she didn't eat the broccoli or dry the dishes like Elena did. The girls stayed a while longer playing together, and hours later Pilar's parents came to look for her because night had come. And a little while longer, Elena asked her aunt for Pilar to stay. Elena's parents invited them to drink coffee while the girls played another little while. There in the meeting place, that is, the room, the parents of both girls begin to talk, and between laughs they also talked about the academy, but they would not tell the girls. It would be a secret between parents. Shh, you don't say anything either, boys and girls who are hearing this story. Days passed and the academy opened its doors. Elena and Pilar went to school one morning as usual, and when they passed by the place they saw how beautiful the place had been, and both were amazed amazed by its beauty. Both girls had not had answers from their parents if they would go or not. The only thing left was to wait a little longer. One night, Elena, having finished her dinner and ready to go to sleep, sees a large box on her bed and another a little smaller one. Not understanding what it could be, he went to it and opened it quickly. In one of the boxes there were 2 dresses, and in the other 2 pairs of shoes. Elena couldn't believe it and ran to hug her parents and told them, "Thank you very much. Are we going to the academy?" asked the girl, jumping for joy. Her parents answered, "A dress for you and another for Pilar, and the same with the shoes. Tomorrow they start after school." "Hurrah!" Elena shouted happily. So happy that she called her cousin on the phone, and both girls couldn't sleep that night for so much joy. The next day after school and a few hours before going to the academy, they both decide to try on their shoes. Elena's were red and her cousin's were black. Pilar puts them on and Elena too. "Wow," they both said at the same time. Elena put music on her radio and her feet along with Pilar's began to move tap, tap, tap on the floor. "They are magical," both girls said in one voice and laughed. Already at the academy, after dancing for a long time, the girls returned to their homes tired and happy for that day and managed to fall asleep. The days had passed quickly, already a month ago, in which both cousins had started their dance classes, and finally Aurora, the teacher, gave the announcement of the first dance on stage where the girls would be the main dancers. And so, between rehearsal after rehearsal, the long-awaited day for Elena, Pilar, and their families finally arrived. Already ready to go on stage, the girls could not stop their joy and their nerves. They were beautiful with their dresses and shoes, but Elena noticed that Pilar was a bit uneasy. "What's wrong with you, Pilar?" Elena asked. Pilar, moving her left foot, said, "This shoe is strange. One does tap, tap against the floor, but the other does trow, and just minutes into the dance. I have to fix it," said the worried girl. Elena tried to calm her cousin by saying, "Don't worry, maybe my dad can see what's happening to your shoe." Elena's father checks the shoe and sees that there is a small nail in its heel that is about to break. Then he took out the nail and replaced it with a smaller one, and the shoe was perfect, and he went back to doing the usual tap, tap, tap. That night the girls danced and the room was filled with flowers and applause. Their little faces shone with so much joy. That night both cousins, Elena and Pilar, became stars of the dance. The audience did not stop clapping and their shoes did not stop moving to the rhythm of the music. And tap, 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 this story is over. Well friends, did you like the story? If so, I hope you will give me a like, subscribe to the channel and leave your comments about the story and give suggestions to write more new stories. With this it will be until a new video, a new story, and well, thank you all for listening to me. I hope you liked it. Bye.